Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. Actually, it's a pretty decent sized week, not too bad. A lot of new ones, some returning ones, a few that I missed over the last couple weeks. So we're gonna throw them into the mix and kind of try to catch up a little bit. So Halloween's coming up. There's some great. There's a couple horror books to look forward to this week. So we'll throw those into the mix also. First up, we have the Riddler year one, number one, written by Paul Dano, with artwork by Steven Sebeck. So what this is an origin story of the Riddler from the Batman film that came out this year, and it's written by the man who played it, Paul Dano. So as always, when there's somebody who, not necessarily like an actor or whatever, but when somebody who it doesn't write comics, it's always like, how's it going to go? Because there's been a number of book writers that have written comics, and it's sometimes a bit of a mixed bag because I think the one thing that people who maybe aren't as familiar with the comic format as say with some other like with books or something like that, the one thing you always have to be careful of, and I'm always very kind of look for this, is you have to remember that you're breaking the story into chapters, and that next chapter is not going to be for 30 days. So you have to kind of be careful, and you have to pace your story and understand that you're going to have to end that story, and then there's going to be that 30-day gap before the readers get to read the next part, if they're reading it on a monthly basis. So I will have to say, I have to hand it to Dano. It's a pretty good job. So basically what this is, it's an origin story of the Riddler from the film. So what it is Edward Nygma. He works at like an accounting firm. And so, obviously he's very, he's an introvert. He doesn't communicate well with people. He obviously kind of lives in his own world, but he's really good with numbers. So his manager, this kid Zach, gives him, he's talking to him, and he says, oh, well, and Edward goes, oh, and I did this job, even though it's not due to the end of the month, I did it really quick. And so basically, as with most managers, Zach takes it to the big boss, Mr. Stone, and gets the credit. So they give him this account to look out and to figure out the numbers. And what he does is he figures out that there's like $10,000 missing like each week or each month, and so he tells Zach, and the boss tells him, don't worry about it, it's okay. And then so what it is so Edward ends up going to this he's going home, and this woman's getting attacked by these guys. Batman saves him, so he sees Batman, and it like kind of somewhat changes his like life, in the sense of like Gotham's kind of a cesspool, and here you have Batman fixing things. So Edward ends up going to the trial of this guy. And so what it is all these things go together, that his boss, his manager, and the girl that Batman rescued all have something to do with this connection with like this mob guy who runs a New Beginnings rescue. It's a pet rescue, but obviously it's a front. So that's a basic premise. That's a setup of the story, but really it's the how he ultimately becomes the Riddler, the film version of the Riddler. And like I said, going back to Dano, I think he does a good job of telling the story. The one thing I actually really liked about it is he really understood how to write for a visual medium, and that's where that's where Subic comes in. The artwork is really wonderful in this. Subic is really a good choice because he really kind of gets there's two things he gets: kind of the grittiness of Gotham and the story that it needs. But I think the other thing is how he captures, especially Edward's, he's very introverted, and how he really captures that subtle look and everything, and also how Edward sees the world, which is, once again, that's in the script, but Subic, it really brings that to life visually, and I think that's one of the reasons why this book, especially for its first issue, works really, really well. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. It's obviously this is the first issue, so it's set up, but once again, he set it up to where there's a nice, cliffhanger ending, but he kind of gives you the elements that you need to go forward with the story. So even though there's this first issue has, a lot of exposition, which first issues are going to have, Dano moves the story along nicely. So, once again, I think it's worth picking up. It's the story's really interesting. The art's really wonderful, and it's off to a really good start. I was pleasantly surprised. So I have to give it to both Dano and Subic that they've done a really good job for a first issue. Next up, we have Moonknight Annual #1, written by Jed MacKay with artwork by Federico Sabatini. So what the basic premise is that Mark Spector's daughter has been kidnapped by this werewolf gang, and so you have there's two Moon Knights. I don't quite know because I haven't been reading the regular Moon Knight series. There's kind of Mark, and then there's another Mark. I'm not sure what that is. I just kind of went with it in the story, and so basically the reason that they kidnapped the daughter is because the head werewolf guy says that when all the planets align that so he can do something with the werewolf curse or something to pass it on to his daughter. That's why he's kidnapped her. It really is kind of it's weird because the story is kind of convoluted and basic at the same time. I don't quite know how you do that, but sadly, MacKay has done a wonderful job of doing that. It really, the story itself is kind of okay. It's really basic, and there's really not a whole lot going on there. The really disappointment is in the artwork. Sabatini's artwork is really basic. Just a noticeable lack of backgrounds, which does not help, and the artwork's just kind of stiff. So, it was honestly just not very good. And once again, I don't like giving bad reviews. It just, like I said, the story just was kind of basic, and then on top of it, it was a little convoluted, and it just kind of wasn't good enough. That's really what it comes down to. And then, you have really a mediocre story, and then the artwork, once again, it's not terrible. It's just kind of it's just not good enough. It's not that great. So this is definitely a pass this week. Next up, we have DC Horror presents Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead #2, written by Bruce Campbell, with artwork by Eduardo Rizzo. So once again, so the first issue, so Sergeant Rock and the team have been tasked. So what it is, it's the Nazis are losing the war, so they get this idea of bringing the dead soldiers back to life, as in zombie soldiers. So that was set up in the first issue. So this issue, Rock and the team are going in to try to, shut down the operation. And that's really, so the first issue was all the setup. So the second issue really gets down to brass tacks, and you just they start on their mission. Of course, they run across zombies, and then it's just it's a zombie bloodbath. And, once again, I mean, this is not, the premise here is pretty basic. It's not, this is not really deep reading material, but it's fun, and I have to give Campbell props that it's just a lot of fun. But I think the other thing is he's definitely done his homework, and he really has gotten the feel for Sergeant Rock and his team, and I really appreciate that, because war comics are they're really of another time, but Campbell, like I said, he's done his homework and he's done a nice job here. And Rizzo's artwork is he's just perfect for this, because, once again, it's kind of a bloodbath, but then of course, zombies have green blood. So it's a lot of green blood. It's just a blast. And I think that's, what really Campbell and Rizzo are doing here, is just having fun with it. It's just Sergeant Rock and zombies. And like I said, there's not, this is really not a deep comic, but I love it. I have fun with it. And that's, they're doing exactly what you expect it to be. And that's a good thing. Next up, we have Lovesick #1, written and drawn by Luana Vecchio. So really, this is, I guess you could say not a sequel, but very much in the same vein as Red Room. It's about underground dominatrix, kind of snuff films or snuff online videos. And what it is there's this dominatrix who does the show and everything. And once again, this is very, I guess, for a very specific audience like Red Room. I think the problem that I had with this is not so much the subject matter. I mean, you can kind of tell from the cover what you're getting into. I think the problem is that there's really just not much of a story here. I mean, you have this woman who does, she does this show and everything, but there's really just not much of a story here. And really, you kind of don't learn really much of anything like what's going on. So that's really kind of, for me, what the problem is. It's not so much the subject matter, which is definitely gonna not be for most people. But I think that really the big problem is it just really doesn't have much of a story. It's like, she does a nice job of like introducing the characters and kind of the setup to it, but there's really not anything beyond that. Like, they do the show, but what's the point? And that really is kind of unfortunately where the book just kind of fails. The artwork is really nice. I mean, she's a really good artist and everything. It's just, there's really just not much of a story here. So, and then on top of that, you have the subject matter that is not going to be for a lot of people. So once again, I even if the subject matter is yours, I just don't think there's a lot of story here. Now that could change in the second issue, but I don't see a lot of change on this one. Next up, we have Detective Comics 1065, written by Ram V and with artwork by Raphael Albuquerque. And then there's the Two-Face backup written by Simon Spurrier with artwork by Hayden Sherman. So this issue has been, this is the I think the third or fourth part, I think. So what it is so last issue, Talia had thrown Batman off the trail because there was so what it is Prince Zarzan is coming to Gotham, and so basically Talia was trying to keep Batman away from the docks. Now we kind of somewhat figure out that because it looked like somebody was actually attacking the prince, but we kind of find out this issue that the prince is here and kind of on a mission, and there's certain things that, like, yeah, he was attacked, but it really there's more to it than just that. So and so really what you have is, so Batman makes it in time. That's not a big surprise. But what it is Ubu, which is Ra's al Ghul's personal guard, basically goes to the dock and is trying to, I think maybe stop the prince. I'm still not quite sure. I think Ram V is going to reveal more as the story goes on. But what we find out is that the prince is there. to talk to Mr. Cummings to buy the Arkham Asylum in the land. And so basically, because what it is the prince actually has the deed to it from like 100 years ago. So that's kind of what's going on. So then Ubu gets away. Gordon saves Batman, and Batman gets pretty beat up while fighting Ubu. And then so Batman's down for the count, at least for a while. Ubu is hides out at Two-Face. That doesn't go well. So it's interesting. There's a lot of plate spinning here. And once again, Ram V, I like the fact that this is, he's kind of telling this noir. Now, this issue is not as noirish. It's definitely has more action in it. And Raphael Albuquerque, I mean, he's really just a great artist. The fight scenes are really good. And then there's kind of the dialogue and everything. And it's just like they're really firing on all cylinders. I'm really liking how Ram's doing the story, and Albuquerque's really bringing that story to life. The backup is a new news story, because you are on the fourth issue, because the last one had 3 parts. So what it is, it's a Two-Face story where it kind of like once again, it's the first of 3 parts, but we're kind of it's a story about the 2 sides of Two-Face. That's really what it's about. And what's really interesting, it's very an odd story in the sense of it's very, very weird, because like Two-Face goes to sleep and he has this dream, or kind of has this visual thing of like, really he sees the kind of how, in a way, Spurrier has set the story where there's really 2 sides, and they're always kind of fighting with each other. The thing that's really amazing about it is Sherman's artwork is really spectacular. It's a very odd story, and I can't really say that I loved it, but it's really the first part of a 3-part story. So it was just a little odd, but it was really interesting. I think there was really an interesting concept there. Overall, I'm still liking the book. I like what Ram V and Albuquerque are doing on the main story. I like the backup, and once again, weird story, but Sherman's artwork is really wonderful. So definitely I'm still liking the book. Next up, we have Dead Mall #1, written by Adam Cesare, with artwork by David Stahl. So what it is these kids go into this abandoned mall, and while they're in the mall, they start looking around and everything, and it's like there's demons or something haunting this mall. And so they kind of get trapped inside and everything. And that's really the basic story. Unfortunately, it's just kind of it's an okay story. It's like there's really Cesar, it's like an interesting setup, but really nothing kind of happens. I mean, the kids get attacked and everything, and then they can't, I guess the demons are kind of doing mind tricks where they can't get out of the mall, and it's kind of interesting, but it's like beyond that, really nothing quite happens. And unfortunately, the artwork by Stahl is a little on the kind of iffy side. Like it's not bad, but it's kind of like it's kind of okay artwork. So you have like a story that doesn't really go anywhere, and the artwork's kind of mediocre, and it's definitely a pass. Like I said, you have a good idea, but the execution's just not there. Next up, we have The Chilling Adventures of Salem #1, written by Colin Bunn, with pencils by Dan Schooning, with inking by Schooning and Ben Galvin. So what this is Salem, which is Sabrina's cat. And so it's his solo adventure. And so what it is he discovers that these other animals that he's running across, like dogs and cats, are like possessed. They're like, he can talk to them. more so than like regular, like, the animals can obviously talk to each other in this world. And so what he finds out is this guy is bringing demons to the earth to basically, he has seances, he brings them in, then the spirit possesses these animals. The problem, but Salem basically convinces the animals, it's like, hey, the guy's just doing this for his own thing. You guys are screwed because you're just pets. And so basically Salem turns the tables, and it's a pretty basic story, but I liked it for what it was. It was just it's a one and done story. Bunn did a nice job. And once again, you kind of had me at like talking animals and stuff, and witchcraft and demons and seances. It's just fun. It's not really deep or anything, and I don't think it's really meant to be. And Schoening's artwork's really nice. He does a nice job on both the animals and the humans, and it's just a fun little story. I think the book came out a week or so ago. But definitely, if you like Sabrina, it's a real shame that Archie just really hasn't been putting out Sabrina, or I think Afterlife with Archie's never gonna finish. So at least like this is like a nice little horror comic for Halloween. So I had a good time with it. Next up we have Vanish #2, written by Donny Cates with artwork by Ryan Stigman. So we know that there's kind of an alternate dimension where they take kids that are prone to magic to this other side, and they teach them how to be magic, kind of like Harry Potter sort of thing. And so what it is Oliver, basically, because one of the wizards tries to take over, once again, it's kind of like the Harry Potter thing. You have Voldemort kind of takes over. Ollie actually ends up killing the head guy, but then the people that were with him have escaped to the real world, our world, and have their masquerading as superheroes. So Ollie, in the first issue, came across one of them and basically didn't kill him, but like, hey, you guys aren't, he was getting revenge because because they killed the headmaster. And so he gets back in touch with one of the other kids that was in school with him, Deacon Dust, and tells him what's going on. Deacon's like, I don't want to be involved. You started a war. What's going on? You should go home to your family. So he ends up talking to his wife Eleanor, and because she knows about the magic. I'm not sure if she was a kid. I can't remember that. But anyways, she's like pissed at Ollie because he's kind of opened Pandora's box. And then the superhero group, the Prestige, which is the Hollow, basically now know that Ollie knows their secrets. So that's really what this second issue, it's kind of leading from the first issue story, where it's laying more groundwork about Ollie and the other kids, and setting up, it's more exposition. Definitely it was exposition, but it was good exposition, and I think it explained more things about the magic, and how you can change one thing, but it doesn't necessarily do good, or you have to be careful what you change, because if you change it, you may make it worse, where you think you might be making it better. And that's kind of the premise here, is kind of like, be careful what you do, because magic has like both good and bad things. It's interesting. I mean, it does continue the story. It's definitely a little exposition heavy, but I didn't mind, because he was moving the story along, but still, while he was explaining things. Stigman's art's really nice. It's a good looking book. I don't think I necessarily enjoyed it as much as the first issue, but I was still interested in reading it. There's still enough there to convince me to give the third issue and see where Cates is going to take the story with that. I still think it's kind of worth checking out. It's just, once again, it's a little exposition heavy in this second issue. Next up, we have The Human Target #8, written by Tom King with artwork by Greg Smallwood. So, as we have learned with the last issue, and a bit of a spoiler, but Guy Gardner was the one who got the poison. Now, we don't know if Guy did it or whatever. We still don't know that. All we know is, so what this issue is Rocket Red has been looking for Guy and can't find him, so he figures out that Christopher Chance has something to do with it. So he basically, because once again, Chance has 12 days and we're at day 8. So he's, every day he dies a little bit more. So basically, Rocket Red is beating the information, trying to get the information from Christopher Chance, and it's just he loses a day because Red Rocket's just being like kind of a jerk, and it's once again it's interesting because I love what King is. Once again, I love this story. It's really fascinating, and the fact that he's going back to like that Justice League International, the DeMatteis, Giffen, and McGuire era of the book, and using those characters. But what's interesting is how, like, it would be like him, like him beating the information out of Guy Gardner. It's kind of like that. It's that swap. Now, Christopher Chance is on the receiving side, but the thing he's really pissed about is he's losing a day of his life because Rocket Red is just like being a jerk. So it was really an interesting issue. It was very different than what the previous issues, and that's what I've loved about this book is each issue, it's still telling that story of like who has poisoned him, why they were who was trying to kill Lex Luthor, and that the kind of murder mystery element is still going on there, but it's how King is telling these individual days, and that's what's fascinating about the book. And once again, Greg Smallwood's artwork is this is one of the most gorgeous books. It is absolutely fantastic. I love this book to death. There is a trade of the first 6 issues. So if you're missing that, you can still catch up. It's a good time to catch up. It's really wonderful. This is really one of the best books of the year so far. I really, really enjoy it. And like I said, King, the story's great. Smallwood's artwork is just fantastic. This continues to be a must read. Next up, we have Creepshow number 2, with the first story written by David Lapham and Maria Lapham, with artwork by David Lapham. And then the second story is written by Steve Fox, with artwork by Erica Henderson. So once again, each issue is going to be a different creative team, and still in the anthology format. And I love that. First of all, it allows different people to do stories. That's always a plus. So the first story is about this tree, this super old tree in the backyard, that the story goes that it's so old that its roots go down to hell. So what it is a little girl, and something has happened in the backyard. Something has freaked her out. Like, she won't go in the backyard. And so what it is this tree, she starts having a connection with the tree, and it starts like she kind of starts hallucinating. And then like a friend comes over, they go play in the backyard, something happens. She thinks that she calls the mom and says she's going to chop up the mom and feed it to the tree. She thinks it was a dream, but she actually does it. And yeah, it goes downhill from there. I think what's interesting about that story is that the David and Maria Lapham, the story is really interesting. It has kind of more of a subtlety to it. It's not an outright horror, it's not in your face horror, which I actually liked. It was more subtle, and I think it has like a payoff that's not going to blow you away, but you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It's not they don't go for the shocking ending, but I actually like that. It was more of like that ironic kind of ending to a story. And once again, it not everyone. That's what I like about when you do an anthology like this. It allows different types of horror, and this one's more of a subtle one. Now the second one's really interesting. So what it is, it's about a comic creator, Sal, who is getting older in age, and so what it is this male nurse comes in to take care of him, who's a big fan of the comic that he wrote, but it's kind of like how there's been newer versions of the characters, and he hates those characters. And so what it is that we find out that this nurse has actually discovered that he got they didn't pay him royalties on like the toys or something. So he got he's got lots of money. And so the nurse is not there. He's buttering him up to try to find the money is really what it comes down to. And there's a nice twist to that. Fox's that one has another nice twist. Once again, more subtle, not super horrific. I love Erica Henderson, and there's a little cartoon the character that he created, he imagines talking to him. So she's perfect for that. And once again, I really I like this book. I really like it a lot. And I like the fact that, both of these stories are, kind of different tones than say the first ones that were really, straight up horror. These are definitely horror stories. They're just kind of different. So definitely check it out. And like I said, if you miss the first issue, it's fine because these are standalone. There's 2 stories in each issue, and they're both standalone stories. So definitely worth checking out. Next up, we have The Silver Coin, number 15. Written and drawn by Michael Walsh. So what this story, once again, these are standalone stories. You can pick this issue up by itself, just like any of them. And so what it is, there's a fireman who finds the coin, and basically the coin, it talks to him, and it tells him basically to like do this stuff, like go kill people and stuff like that. So it's basically, somewhat possessed him, and he kind of just goes crazy. And that's the basic premise. And it's really, what's interesting is how the way Walsh writes and draws it, where the guy is like writing in the journal, so you're actually kind of reading the journal and seeing what he has done, visually. And it's really a fascinating way to tell the story. I really like that. Just to let you know, this is the last issue for now. They're taking a break for a while, and they are going to come back, but my guess it's probably going to be late next year. We don't have a date, but there's a thing in the back that Walsh has said he's taking some time off because him and his wife just had a baby. Congratulations. And so it's once again, these are all standalone. There's a trade that's going to come out of the first volume, the first 6 issues has come out, and then there's the next volume will have like these last set of stories. So I really love this book. I like the fact that they're standalone stories. Each one has had like different writers, and then Michael Walsh himself, who's the artist on all of the books, he writes his own stories. So definitely well worth checking out. I love this book. I'm sad that it's going to be a little while before the next set, but hey, it's all good. Next up we have Catwoman Lonely City number 4, written and drawn by Cliff Chang. So it's been a while. That's the downside to the Black Label. So this has been leading up for Selina to get into the Batcave, because in this particular storyline, Bruce has passed away, but he left it so Selina can get into the Batcave. Now, Gotham has gone to hell in a handbasket. Two-Face is the mayor, but Two-Face is still Two-Face, and so they're going to the Batcave to get to download, to find out, that. So basically, what it is Bruce has kind of created a Lazarus pit, but he's mixed in Bane's not blood, but the stuff that pumps them up. And so we find out that it kind of, it brings a person back to life, but then they live for a very short time. They don't go crazy, it doesn't seem like, but they just die very quickly. So you have Selena, you have Ivy, and you have Demon. They make their way, they get in the Batcave, and then of course, Two-Face and the police show up. It goes to hell in a handbasket. But in the end, Selena gets what she needs. The story wraps up really nicely. I don't want to say any more and ruin it, but it was a good emotional ending to the story. I really have to give it to Chang that this has been really wonderful. I love the fact that it's set in the future. Selena's older. All the characters are older and everything, and Ivy was wonderful. All the character, the way that he handled all of the characters in this story is absolutely amazing. If you've missed this, I know that there's going to be a collection of this series. It's really good. This is, like I said, it was a great story. His artwork is just absolutely just fantastic. I loved this book, and if you missed it, definitely pick up the collection when it comes out. It's definitely one of the best Catwoman stories I've read in a long time, and that's certainly not disrespect to anybody who has done Catwoman, but this is really good stuff. And I think the one thing that's always good about the Black Labels, they can do whatever they want, and there's no continuity issues to go along. They just get the creators get to do what they want. So definitely check this book out. I love this book. If you've been reading it, this fourth issue was so well worth the wait. Next up, we have Firepower number 24, written by Robert Kirkman and Chris Samnee. And yes, I'm going to keep reviewing every damn issue until you people start buying this or reading this book. This book is wonderful. So Owen is finding the serpent villain. He finally gets to the next level of his power. And unfortunately they don't win, but at least they're able to get the hell out of the battle. That's really the big thing. And so we're left with a cliffhanger. The book is going to go on hiatus for a few months. It'll be out. The next issue will be out next year. But there are collections of this book. You really need to be buying this book. I mean, Kirkman, like I said, I am not necessarily, no disrespect, I'm not the biggest Kirkman fan, but I really love this book to death. And I think it has a lot to really do with Chris Samnee, not only with the artwork, but he's definitely involved with the story. And this book is so good. It's just a great story. The artwork is gorgeous. It's a book that everybody needs to read. It's really good, and every issue just, it's the only gripe I have is that each issue is just such small taste of like the overall story that I get so excited for the next issue. And of course now we're going on hiatus, but that being said, I love this book. You need to buy this book. The story's great. The artwork is fantastic. Please buy this book. And finally, we have Public Domain number 5, written and drawn by Chip Zdarsky. So as we have learned, Sid Dallas has gotten the rights to his comic back. He can do the comic. So he made the deal with the corporation, Dee and Jerry, the big corporate bosses. So he gets to do they're still able to do, they can do a comic, but he's able to do, or he gets the rights to the comic. So they can do movies and all sorts of stuff. He gets to do the comics. So Sid, the sons, Dave and Miles, and Tanya, Jerry's assistant, who found out that Sid actually had the rights to the character. So they're going to start their own, Dallas comics. And so the interesting twist in this issue is we've seen him. There's a character, Muhammad, who's a big fan, and he always comes and Sid signs his comics and does artwork and stuff like that for him. And we find out, so they decide that they're going to rent a space to do the comic in, and we find out that Muhammad actually has this like app. It's kind of like an eBay app, but for like collectibles. And so he's like super rich. And so Sid never charged him for like signatures and stuff. So Muhammad said, look, I'm renting this place. You have money for a year to create the comic, that I love. And it really is a great twist. And, once again, what I love about this book is how, obviously it's very timely because of creator rights and stuff, but really how it's so character driven. I mean, there's no superheroes or anything like that. It's all, just dialogue and stuff, but it's really, really interesting. And once again, the characters are so well written, and, the artwork, I mean, Zdarsky's actually a, pretty decent artist. I mean, it's not super flashy art, but then it doesn't need to be for its story. It just needs to be perfect for what it is. And it's just, once again, it's a lot of people, they're standing around talking. So you need something that just gets that across, and he does that really well. But I'm really enjoying this book. I really like it. I love the character development. I like the kind of twists and turns. There's some really goofy stuff with like Jerry. He's kind of lost his mind. He's really pissed that they can't, they've lost the rights to the comic. It's really a good book. I think you should definitely be checking out. I really, really enjoy it. That's going to do it this week. We're coming in pretty good. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store there. It's really a good comic shop. They have a great pull service. Annie, Eduardo, Wendy, and Derek. Just the whole team is really wonderful. Great customers. Check out their Facebook group. It's a lot of fun. We post stuff all the time. It's really a great comic shop. So if you're in the Long Beach area, please definitely check it out. You can go to pulpfiction.com. And that they have the address and the hours of the store and everything. If you're in the LA area, there's Pulp Fiction Culver City. Same name, separate owner, Chris and her team. Same thing. They offer pull service discounts on trades and graphic novels. Once again, if you're in the LA area, it's another great store. But obviously, I'm more the Long Beach kid. And definitely support your local comic shop. Definitely support them. They're the backbone of the industry. And as always, we end our show with please be kind. Kindness goes a long way. Just saying, even saying hi to somebody you don't know. It really is just be nice to each other. That's really the thing. And stay healthy. Take care of yourselves. And just be kind. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, talk. Comments are always welcome. Just once again, take care of yourselves out there. Thanks for watching. This is Steven from popculturemaven.com signing off. We'll see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.